came in, turn right, follow the usual emergency exit lighting, and that should take you out of the building to freedom and safety. Other than that, that is pretty much it. I won't hold you up any longer. I will pass you straight on to your president for the evening so we can get things started. Please welcome Jeremy.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and a warm welcome to our guests. I'd like to start the evening off by sharing a story with you. Has anybody actually seen the film called The Princess Bride? Would it be fair to say it's a porn movie for 9-year-old girls? So imagine my surprise when there's actually a life lesson buried within that film. It concerns the Battle of Wits scene. We have the dashing Wesley, who's come to rescue the princess. And we have the evil Zazzini, who has captured the princess and has challenged Wesley to a battle of wits. Zazzini produces 2 cups of wine. Wesley, prepared for this, says, I have here one of the most dangerous poisons known to man. It is colourless, odourless, tasteless, and dissolves instantly in any liquid. With that, he takes the 2 cups from Zanzini and keeps his eye on him just to make sure he isn't looking, and then administers the poison. He then does a little dance as he shoves the cups between him and Zanzini. Boy, you think you can outwit me? Is the poison in that cup? You expecting me to switch cups, weren't you? Or is the poison, you're anticipating my anticipation? Is the poison in this cup? Look over there! With that, Wesley turns round. Zanzini swaps the cups. Enough of this, boy. Drink! I hear it. Just grabs his drink. Knocks it back in one. Slams it on the table. The sly Zanzini had been holding his cup to his lips. When he saw Leslie drunk his, he then drunk his. I've outwitted you, boy. I swapped the cups when you weren't looking. I knew you wouldn't drink your cup if it was full of poison. Those were the last words Zanzini uttered as he died in agony. The princess turned to Wesley and said, so the poison was in your cup? Wesley, with his James Bond smile, said, actually, my dear, they were in both cups. For the last 2 years, I have been drinking small amounts of the poison to build up my immunity. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, isn't that what we do here every meeting? We drink a little bit of poison, which we call fear. Fear of standing up here and looking a fool. Fear of everybody staring at you. Fear of everybody sort of forgetting your words, what I'm going to say next. So, are you ready for some poison today?
Yes.
Are you ready to face your fears?
Yes.
Come on. Are you ready to build up your immunity?
Yes.
Great. You're in the right place. So I'm also doing the warm-up today. So I thought we'd do something slightly different than normal. We'd do sort of an introduction, but instead I'll introduce Clive, and as soon as I point to him, Clive will bounce up, say his name, and then introduce Naz. And it will go on that way, all the way round. Do you follow? The guests can opt out if they wish. So what can I possibly say about this person coming next? He is one of the greatest magicians the world has ever known. He is one of the greatest talkers the world has ever known. It is our one and only Clive.
I have been so excited all day long to introduce this guest. He's travelled afar. He arrived here yesterday from London to make sure he could be on time. He's got charisma, he's got charm, he's got passion, he's got input, he's got pauses like you've never seen before. In fact, he used to pause for the club. Can you give it up, and give it up big time for our one and only, the National Naz. Thank you.
Don't worry, just as you point to him, just jump up. No, you'll just jump up.
When he says your name.
No, you don't have to say the name.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on the stage Muna.
I introduce to you all Olga, who's always has something very useful for us all to listen to.
Thank you very much. I introduce very honorable John. John. He was, yes, I said John.
Thank you.
And he was member, and he's still member of our club many years ago. And he did so terrific speeches. It's unbelievable. I recommend.
Thank you for that flattery. May I introduce Peter? And I know nothing at all about Peter, so I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Yes, as far as Toastmasters, I was a Toastmaster in Cape Town. And when I came back here, the first place I looked for was Toastmasters.
Oh, yes. I've introduced John.
Thank you, Peter. It's strange when you meet people in other places that you know at Toastmasters, in other places around the town. And I had the great pleasure of meeting our next speaker, Greg, in the dentist the other day.
Hello, I'm Greg. I'm going to introduce this lady. I probably should have checked her name badge before I stood up, but you all know this lady. I'm sure she's very famous. You see her every day on your television. It is the very famous lady who's going to introduce herself. Thank you.
Nikki, everyone, that's me. I'd like to introduce the lovely lady sitting next to me this evening. This is Sue.
Hello. Thank you very much. I am Sue, and I'm on my crutches today. I have bad knees, and I'm going to pass on to Stella.
Well, good night, everyone. If you're looking for a lady that is adorable, that is sweet, that has a great personality and a wonderful smile, you're looking for Kate.
Hello, it's me. Good evening. I'd like to introduce today lovely, good-looking gentleman from very far away, and that's Stuart.
Very much. Good evening, everyone. The only thing I know about this gentleman here, well, I know two things. I know that he's also a fellow newcomer, just one attendance before, and his name is Scott.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to introduce Mr. Shah here. Mr. Shah's got a nice can tray coat just to tap in for that. So. Mr. Shah.
Now this girl, she's going to steal your heart. You know why? Because she's beautiful. I introduce you, Sophie!
The gentleman next to me has two first names. It's Mark James.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to introduce the man sitting next to me. Now, he's going to be speaking tonight. and he always says something insightful and interesting, so watch out for it. It is, of course, Phil.
Thanks, Mark. My name's Phil, and a big part of Toastmasters is welcoming new guests, and so I welcome you all.
Good evening, everyone. I think I may have the easiest job this evening, as I have the wonderful privilege of being able to introduce my girlfriend.
I'm Emily, and I can't actually see who's the next person. Instead of introducing a pillar, I introduce Rachel.
Rachel. You're on? I'm here tonight for the first time. I've been invited along by the lovely Alison. Alison! We met at a Ciroc dance group last Wednesday night. We had a class. Right. Thank you. This gentleman here, beware. Phil, beware. He is Mark, beware. He is also speaking tonight, and his name is Jugal.
Hi. So today I'm going to give a speech, and my speech is going to be read by a very handsome and smart person who is James.
My name is actually Alistair. I'm just going to hand over to Carol.
Very nice shirt.
Great pleasure to introduce Janine.
Hello, it's my privilege to introduce a guy called Tony, which does sound a bit like something you'd put on your hair.
I've had a lot of introductions in my life, but that is one of them. However, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony, as she had mentioned, it is always good to sit by someone so inspiring and motivating, most especially when they have beards. As well, his height is that uncomparable to most of those persons sitting in front of us. With pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you a very handsome and amiable personality, Raj.
Thank you very much, Tony. Obviously, I'm Raj, and it seems like we've gone right back to where we started, just flipped to the other side of the room. So I want to once again introduce you to Jeremy, our president.
Before we go on with the proceedings, there's a couple of things I need to do. Stella, would you like to stand up? Janine, would you like to stand up? I think the club owes you a big round of applause for two reasons. A, they magnificently represented us at the district contest, and they did so well. They came second, both of them. Thank you. Right, proceedings. You know we like to change the meetings around a bit and do different things. Well, this evening, what we're going to do is group evaluations again. But this time, what I'd like you to do, as you give your evaluations, sort of positive comments, and also some wishes for improvement, you explain why they're important. So, why do people need to make eye contact? Why? And why do they need to sort of project their voice better? You know, anything that's, again, be positive, but also give some sort of wishes, you know, as where guidance for where people can actually improve. And at the end, for the last 5 minutes, we'll also allow each table to provide feedback to each other on their performance and also what you have actually learned this evening. Now, you've heard enough of me, haven't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We better have someone capable, wonderful, the darling of the Russian Air Force. I'll keep that secret. The wonderful Olga.
Good evening, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome guests. My name is Olga Taylor, and tonight I'm your Toastmaster. In this capacity, and I don't want to be very controversial, and I will continue the same line as our President offered us. Introduction. In this connection, I would like to introduce our timekeeper, Tony, which must kindly explain his role tonight. Please, timekeeper.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tony again. My role this evening is to actually help Holger to make sure that we finish here by 7:30. And it's to help as well with keeping to time, which is very important when it comes to the meeting of Toastmasters. Most all the speakers this evening are going to be timed, as well as the evaluators. If you look at the right-hand side of your program or your agenda in front of you, you're going to see various times and the light signal on top of it. You have green, you have amber, and red. And the first one side, the first left-hand side of the timing, you have 5 as the time goes on. This timing is to help the speakers to speak according to time or to keep to time. So these lights are going to be going on, the green, the amber, as well as the red lights to continue and to help them make sure they are time. Thank you.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. The next member of club I would like to introduce is Mona, whose role today is grammarian and counter. Please.
Hello, President, members, Toastmasters. My role today is, having started with an is to make note of the ums and ahs, to sort of look at the grammar, and to come up with a word that we're going to use tonight, and that is hiatus.
Wow.
Right, I shall read that to you, just so you, it's where you have a pause or interruption in the flow of what you're doing or what you're saying. Synonyms are pause, break, interval, space, gap, and a few sentences to give you a bit of meaning. He was hurrying along the pavement, quickening, when we could make a yard or two, dawdling in each hiatus. So there's a little bit of an interruption. And it's usually when you've been doing something and then you interrupt what you've been doing. Another word would be hiatus hernia, but that wasn't my thought, and I hope none of you have one. I'm on you, little sis. Okay. Thank you.
And now it's time to start to speak for speakers. And the first, I would like to introduce first speaker, Philip Davenport. But prior to this, we need to listen his evaluator. What officially we need to look when we listen his speech. What is criteria for this speech? What is the purpose and aims of this speech? And his evaluator is Mr. Shah.
So Phil is on speech number 4, which is how you say it. And it's all to do about words. Words are powerful. So the aim for Phil tonight is if you close your eyes and just listen to what Phil is saying, and you can conjure up images, powerful images, then you know you succeeded tonight. So Phil, best of luck. His speech is called Ignoble Intentions. Phil, Davenport.
Very small remark. When you close your eyes, please don't go to sleep.
So most welcome guests. This week in Sweden saw the annual award of the Nobel Prizes for groundbreaking work in the physics of exotic matter, in the mechanisms of cell death, and many other things. And with that in mind, I'd like to begin with a small experiment. It's very simple. What I'd like you to do is to put your hand up as soon as you hear a noise. And one. There we go. And more. Excellent. Thank you. Now, the mechanism by which sound waves are converted into experiencing sound in the brain is actually quite complicated. The movement of the sound waves in the air is transmitted into vibrations of the eardrum, through the bones in the ear, and eventually moves a fluid in a circular organ called the cochlea. Now, within the cochlea, there are very minute hair cells, and as these deflect with the movement of the fluid within the cochlea, they release chemicals, and these chemicals stimulate neurons, which then go into the brain, and which we then interpret as sound. Now, it so happens that the hairs that are responsible for the high-pitched noises are the ones that break most easily, and the ones that are responsible for hearing high-pitched sounds tend to decay over time, which is why it was the younger people in the audience that put their hands up first. So, now, a few years ago, an inventor called Howard Stapleton put this effect into good use. He invented a device called the mosquito. Now, what this does, if you're troubled by young people hanging around outside your shop, you install one of these devices. And what it does is it plays a high-pitched tone that only children and teenagers can hear. They all clear off, and your shop is free to be explored by the more valuable older customers, without, as they go about, unawares that there's anything amiss. And this won its inventor what's called an Ig Nobel Prize. These are a counterpart to the more famous Nobel Prizes, but they respect research which is supposed to first of all, make you laugh. That's the first criteria. The same year that Howard Stapleton won with the mosquito, other winners won for the science of how many group photos you need to take before you get one without anyone blinking in it. Some researchers that investigated the speed of sound in cheese, and a group that looked at why it is that woodpeckers don't get headaches. Now, your first thought might be, well, this is clearly ridiculous. Who is paying for money to study woodpecker concussion in woodpeckers, or the speed of sound in cheese? And actually, that's where the second part of the Ig Nobel Prize criteria comes in, is that the research also has to make you think. By the way, anyone worried about the clear civil liberties and implications of the mosquito should know that the teenagers had the last laugh. If you can now download a ringtone for your phone, which the teenager can hear, which their teacher can't. So, another example. In 2011, a group of Japanese researchers invented a device for waking people up using wasabi, or horseradish, by releasing this chemical into the air and working out how much you needed in order to wake someone up. And again, your first thought is, this is ridiculous, but who's spending money on waking people up using horseradish? Well, actually, it solves quite a complicated problem. If you imagine how you would wake somebody up in a hotel, for instance, that was deaf, how are you going to do that with a traditional fire alarm? And it turns out that there are many people, when I worked in the NHS, there are lots and lots of people I met that relied on other methods to wake up, and this is actually a useful thing. For another example, you could look at, there was a group that won a prize that used lasers shooting into people's hands, and it turns out you experience less pain when you're looking at a beautiful picture compared to an ugly picture. Again, on the face of it, this sounds ridiculous, but if you think how many people undergo painful or difficult medical procedures that they have to remain conscious for, this can be very useful. And in fact, I know of a group in this country that are using virtual reality. It lets children who have suffered burn injuries experience an ice-cold environment while they get treatment for their dressings. And clearly anything that works to make those treatments easier is worthwhile. Now, in my own research, most of you know that I'm a PhD student at Bournemouth University. I spent a lot of time working on, even to me, fairly obscure, fairly uninteresting things, and I spent the last 3 years writing a document that, if I'm lucky, maybe 10 people will ever read. And I do that with the hope that, although I'm working on things that are difficult and not very interesting to a lot of people, what I'm doing is actually creating new knowledge, and it fits into the wider structure of science. If you happen to have a £2 coin on you, there's a chance that around the rim it will say, "Standing on the shoulders of giants." This isn't just an Oasis album, it was a reply from Isaac Newton to a letter from an admirer of Robert Hooke. And the full quote is, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Now clearly there are giants in the world of science. In my own work I rely on thousands of years of mathematics, hundreds of years of engineering expertise, decades of medical research. And some of these people are giants that everyone in the audience will have heard of, Pythagoras or Isaac Newton. But I also rely on more obscure work. I rely on the small bits and pieces that fill in the gaps. And that is why I want to celebrate the Ig Nobel Prizes, because they celebrate work that at first glance seems ridiculous, but actually when you think about it, fills in the essential bits in between those giants of science. Thank you very much.
I will ask you during up to 3 minutes, complete evaluation slip. Time it started now. Where in this slip, please write everything, your opinion about this speech.
Olga.
And please take
Sorry to
into account.
interrupt the proceedings. I think we're going to do some group evaluations. So if Mr. Shah, would you mind leading the group evaluation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 minutes will be given over to sort of pulling out from the audience.
So I go and then someone else?
Well, no, you just sort of talk to the audience to get them what they think.
Okay. Okay, so...
But without completions.
Yes, you do those. You still fill in those.
Right. Okay, so Phil, fantastic speech, man. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, the way you used a variety of stories, funny stories, it really kept your speech entertaining. Because if it was just one story, maybe that would have lost its edge. But you buried it, and that really kept your speech alive. Other things, yeah, your use of words, simple. And it did, I did close my eyes for a few seconds, and you did. I could see those, something about that cheese and how that experiment, and you know, it all came together.
So then just get the group to talk about it. No, go up to the front and then lead a discussion on it.
Oh, okay.
Like we did before. Oh, of course you weren't here before.
No.
Right.
Okay, so anyone else? What do you think about Phil's speech? What do you like about it?
I was very upset that I couldn't hear anything, except his speech. But I heard his speech very clearly.
Because you're old, older.
Right. Who thought Phil used vivid words? Yeah? Okay. Why do you think that?
I found that you used words, whilst you used the proper names for some of the parts that you were talking about, you did it in such a way as the words around it explained what it is you were talking about. So I could, if I didn't know the word itself, you would led me into and out of the other side. So I found that particularly helpful, because I wasn't being spoken down to, and I was almost like getting lost in there. So I found that particularly useful about that.
Okay. From Phil's speech, what one story do you remember the most?
To me, it was him walking down the aisle with the imagery of that. It gave me the image of me visiting the hearing centre tomorrow, because I'm here. But a great image. Like you, I thought. Interesting, informative, humorous, delivered with a lovely, soft, spoken style, clear delivery. Can I make a suggestion? The only thing that I found you could possibly improve on was body movement. I think you need to stabilise your body movement a little. make your movements relevant to the content of the speech. Other than that, it was a really good speech.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what a lovely topic to play with. The title immediately captured my imagination. That was absolutely great. I particularly like the idea of the students seeing how low they could set the tone on their phone, giving the thumbs up across the classroom, but yeah, perhaps a bit higher on some other ones. I think really to lift that talk to a whole new level, if you wanted to, it would just need some bounce to go along. A bit of a dramatic pause between the actual tagline and guess what the grant's going for now? It's going to, so along those lines, pauses are just great and a bit more bounce to go along with it.
Yep.
Something else that I particularly liked about the speech and that I remember and will take away from this is that when you described a lot of examples, you did it yourself. So essentially you get your own Nobel Prize from me, and that you made me both laugh and think. And in doing so would help me take that away. And I think I would also concur with the other speakers in terms of you had a powerful message to put across, and you can do that with a powerful stance.
Yeah, I think we have time for one more. Yep.
Sorry. I think your speech was great. I love the use of word. I think it was a very rich vocabulary, but in a way that was very easy to understand, even for foreigners, for me. One thing that I would like to improve, or I would suggest to improve, is the volume. Sometimes I felt it was missing a bit, and when you were finishing the sentences, it was going down, which was a shame, because then I missed some bits when I was really enjoying your speech.
Right, yeah, Phil, fantastic speech. Keep up the good work. And look forward to seeing more of your speeches, man.
Okay. We will move to our second speech. And second speaker is Kate Wojtwolka, and she has evaluator Stella, and Stella will introduce this speech. The time of this speech must be, it's icebreaker speech, and up to 6 minutes, between 4 and 6 minutes.
Well, it seems like I'm introducing Kate again. So I wasn't wrong when I said that you are wonderful, and now you can prove it to everyone.
Yes, I try my best.
So it's the second speech, it's organized your speech. Pretty much we're going to see that it is easy to understand and to remember, and that it makes sense, the structure and the way that it is presented. I would like us to look a little bit further, and sure we all will, but that's pretty much what the second speech is about. It's your first speech. See, so I'm completely grown. I saw I was...
You're welcome.
I saw I was introducing the second. Never mind. So, the icebreaker. Good. Kate is going to speak about herself, and again, we just need to see that the message makes sense and have certain structure, and that we can hear you. I will be looking for the fact that we can hear you. Because if the last person in the room cannot hear your voice, all your message and all your hard work will be lost. So,
I do my best. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, good evening. I'm Kate, and I shoot people. Don't worry, I shoot people with camera because I am a photographer. Briefly, I'd like to tell you my story, how I became a photographer. So, when I finished my accountancy college, I had to find a work. One thing was I had to start supporting myself. The other thing, I couldn't stand my parents, talking all the time. When you're going to find a job and, start paying for yourself. So, I had to. I thought that I will find a job as an accountant or somewhere in administration, but walking down Abbey Shopping Street, I found advert in the shop window saying that they are looking for a shop assistant to their photographic studio. On that time, I knew completely nothing about photography. I even didn't own a camera on that time, except a little film camera. So I applied for that job, and guess what? I got it. So I got it, and I was so happy. That was my first job, and I lasted there for 6 years. So obviously I did enjoy it. I learned in my first job all the secrets of photography, how to process films, how to process photographs, how to take photographs in the studio, and then I was assistant for a wedding photographer as well. I think on that point I was really hooked into it, but after 6 years I started itching for something different, so I left that job and moved out from my town and found another job in photographic studio in a lovely skiing resort in south of Poland. And it was lovely, I enjoyed it, but unfortunately I didn't get on with my boss very well, so proudly handed my notice in, and I thought, maybe I have to find a job. So I did. I found exactly the same job. This spec was exactly what I was doing. I knew everything what was on that spec, so great, I applied for it, but the job was in Southampton. So that was a little bit far away, that was about 1,000 miles from my hometown. But I thought, yeah, I'm saying no, yeah, why not? I did apply for that job, and guess what? I got it again. So yeah, I was really happy. I came to Southampton working in what I love the most and started taking wedding photographs as well. And also I continued collecting old cameras. I had a small collection in Poland, about 10 cameras. But I continued here, and there's one little story which actually brings a smile to my face every time when I think about it. One day I went to a charity shop and I asked the lady whether they've got any vintage cameras in their shop. Sometimes they are not on the display, sometimes they keep them in the back room because they don't know what to do with them. And she said, actually, yeah, we've got something in the box over there. So I went there and looked, and I couldn't believe my eyes. There were old cameras, like, you know, the bellow cameras, and they were about 100 years old. Some of them, not all of them. So I ended up buying on that day 17 of them. Not all of them were so old, but that was pretty good catch, I have to say. So I bought travel bag on wheels as well, just to take the cameras to the car because they were very heavy. And yeah, and since then I'm proud owner of 70 plus of the vintage cameras.
Wow.
And the collection is still growing, but I'm just more fussy what I like now. And yeah, just to finalize, I'd like to say that I sometimes wonder what I would be doing today if I didn't actually apply for that job, which I knew nothing about, and whether I would be accountant today or someone else. So yeah, I took the risk on that time, and I'm really grateful for that, because I'm happy today what I'm doing. I'm still learning. I think it's actually, you know, lifetime learning. And I have to say that it's good sometimes to come out from your comfort zone and go for it, go for what you feel is good for you, even if you don't feel 100% prepared for it. Thank you very much.
And now time again during 3 minutes to discuss, to evaluate interesting speech, and our guide and chief evaluator, Stella, please.
was completely wonderful. You proved that you did a great job for being your first speech. For this round, we were speaking in the meeting that it would be interesting if we start having 2 points that you like about the speech and something that you think can be improved. For the level that you are in, I think it was perfect. You hit all the points, you had the structure, you had good voice level. Did you hear them out? Did you hear her out there? Great, back there. So yeah, you've ticked all the points. The only suggestion I will give for next time, even though that's some more speeches later, is free the hands a bit. Because they were very tiny here, and sometimes you allow them to flow, but yeah, it will be, it's a tiny bit taking into account where you are right now. I think you did a fantastic job. Someone else might have a suggestion or something that they like? Oh, please, yes.
I think that was absolutely great. It really gave us a good insight into your professional career. Would you agree, ladies?
Yes.
Yeah. Just how does one start in that sort of business, and how just walking along the road with your eyes open, you just notice something, and wow, a life-changing moment. No more girl adding up numbers, but taking photographs. Great. And a title, I Shoot People. We all wanted to know what that was about. And I've got friends that are photographers going into a great business here. We was at an equity meeting a couple of weeks ago, and people that there's a shortage of people doing headshots, and now members are going up to London to have their photographs taken there. So you might want to send some cards into the local equity office. The actors, not the insurance people. I think what would have been absolutely lovely, because I love props anyway, is if you dared to bring out your prize possession and perhaps had it on a tripod with a little cloth over it, as I used to do, and say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to unveil my, and go, and take everyone's photo.
Hello. Well done. Always difficult doing an icebreaker. I think you did that very, very well. I would like to say something positive. I liked your pauses. I thought this was very good. So what did I do? Pause. I got the job. Very, very nice. Well done early on in the speech. Thank you.
Just a quick one is that what for the first speech as an icebreaker, she was very confident, and I think it was this excellent speech, and you are a storyteller, and well done. Simple as that. Thank you.
I loved the immediacy of it. You just came through, you just flowed, and I really loved it.
I thought it was really good to hear you learning from the story, the sense of go for what you feel, it's good for you, it's the whole story
I'd just like to add that I thought the pace of the whole of your speech was great. I liked the way that you worked through that and the pauses that you used to back that up. I would like to, I found that you used eye contact well most of the time. Occasionally you would look somewhere else, and I felt I would be more engaged if you had more eye contact all the time. What was really amazing was how you reflected on your own story, and I thought that was an amazing way to end what you talked about, bring it together and conclude.
So to wrap it up, I did love the way you used our imagination. I could actually see you in the show with the 7 cameras, trying to think, what should I get? Should I get all of these? Should I get just those ones? And how now you are more picky and maybe saying, I don't want this, I don't want that. And I did love the reflection at the end, because it made me think, and I will think that may think another person as well. What will happen if I made different choices in my life as well? So that was a great way to make people think about themselves and connect with you.
Very well. Now we need to listen to the third speech. I said need, but it's probably not. We don't need. We are waiting for our third speaker. Jackal Dave, please. But speech is something special. It's as well the icebreaker, and we will ask his evaluator, Alistair, please to come and introduce.
This is Jagal's icebreaker, so quite like the speech we've just seen, it's really just a way for him to introduce himself to the rest of us and for him to demonstrate any skills he currently has in speaking. I'll hand over to Jagal.
So today, 12th October 2016, we all are together at this time, at this moment. 17 people are sitting on the right side, 14 people are sitting on the left side, and 3 people are sitting on the back side. Is this all planned? Is this all destined? Or what is it? So good evening, President, fellow Toastmaster, and our dear guest. Today I am going to say a true story which I experienced. It's all about destiny and fate. It's long back, once upon a time, in 1998, when I was 11 years old. My father and my uncle are very much fascinated by astrology. So my father and my uncle got a person who was an astrologer. They introduced, my father took him to my house and we were all chatting together. After a while, my father asked him, like, what is your astrology experience? Can you please share? He asked my father one thing, can you please do one thing? Like, take a piece of paper, write 3 wishes in it, and take that piece of paper, draw it into the river, and take a glass of water of the river water in a glass and come back to the house. He followed all the steps. He went there, followed all the steps, and gave a glass of water to him. He started reading something from the water. You know what? He read exactly all the 3 wishes which was written by my father. We were all surprised. We started believing him. So at that time, my uncle was also there. So he was facing a difficult time in his life. He asked him, like, can I ask one question? He said, okay, fine. Then he asked, like, could you please tell me when can I get my own house? I want to purchase my own house. I'm really facing difficulties in my business. He told. He was silent for a while. He did some calculation and he told, okay, you should get your own house very soon. Prior to it, I'll be giving a locket having goddess imprint on it to put on to your wife. So what she did, she said fine. She took the locket and put it on. And after a while, like he told this, and he left. So after a few years, like 1 year later on, they got their own house in 2000, and they were living happily. After that, what happened? I still remember, 26th of January 2001, I was playing cricket on the ground, and suddenly it was early morning, 9 o'clock. After half an hour, after like you could say 9:30, I was experiencing something really weird. I was feeling like I'm going to faint. I saw a stone, it was shaking on its own. And I realized it was not me, because everyone were experiencing the same. One of my friends' father was rushed and came, he was screaming, "Go back home, go back home." It was a major earthquake. I didn't listen anything. I took my bike, took my cricket kit and rushed to my home. When I reached there, I saw my family, my neighbors, they were all out of their house. The mobile network were all down. So it was really very insecure feeling, it was very confusing, what was happening. It was the first time. After a while, my father's friend came. He told, a building got collapsed and it was the same building where my uncle was staying. So me, my father, my mother, we rushed to that place. We saw like the whole building was collapsed and the one family, they came out, luckily they came out and they were alright. The rescue team was trying to get other people to come out. A girl came out, she was absolutely fine, so we were having hope to see our uncle's family very soon. Later on, several hours passed, no news. We went back home, 2 days passed, no news. On the 4th day, in the early morning, my father got a call from the rescue team. They asked my father, and they were expecting him to be there at that time. So we didn't thought anything, we just rushed, we went to that place. There were bodies lying on the ground. It was all, the bodies were mutilated. At that time, it was very difficult to identify the body. My father managed to identify my uncle's body and my uncle's daughter's body. And he was struggling to find my auntie's body. Because it was so bad, the situation was so bad, it was not a good thing to see. I was not allowed to see because I was very small. So several hours passed, there was no news, we were all tensed. What about her? What happened to her body? At that time, suddenly my father saw something that was the locket. That was the same locket which was given by the astrologer on the body. So, like, my father came out from there and he told us about this thing. We were all speechless with a deep emotion. I was really very confused. My heart was full of grief. But one question was going in my mind, a strong question was going in my mind repeatedly. And that was this the only reason that astrologer gave that locket to my auntie? And that was the reason. And that was the only question going in my mind. In the end, I realized one thing. I concluded by myself. There was no answer for that question. So I concluded by myself, like, there is always a reason behind everything. Thank you.
Please, Alistair, take lead in evaluation of speech. During 3 minutes. 3.
I just want to say that was a really good icebreaker, Jagal.
Thank you.
I really liked how you sort of walked around up here, made for a very confident delivery. I also thought it was very fluid throughout. There wasn't any sort of awkward pausing going on, which, again, really good positive. The only suggestion I could think of you to improve on was maybe eye contact. Sometimes when you were thinking about your next line, you ever looked at the floor up towards the ceiling, which is a natural thing to do, but to really polish your next speech, maybe just work on that one. That's my feedback. Can I open it up to the rest of the room? Yes?
Yeah, just from the icebreaker again, I remember my icebreaker. I was standing on the stage and I was taking one piece of paper in my face because I didn't want to see. I didn't want to see me. I was 3 years old. So the way he opened the speech, excellent. Before he started telling the story, he said something. As an icebreaker, he started talking about his childhood, which is very important for the icebreaker. and his family was involved in his story, and excellent speech. In terms of recommendation, probably I shouldn't give him anyway because it's an icebreaker. A little bit forward and backward, maybe that's a bit like disturbing. Overall, excellent speech. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Alison.
I'm the drama queen. I think everybody knows I'm the drama queen.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, really good. Really good. It's not easy, that icebreaker. You mull it over for weeks in your head and you talk it through your head as you're walking to catch the bus or whatever you're doing, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, can I do it? And you did. You did it really well. And it is an icebreaker. It's the first one. So we're going to build from here and see where you go. And everybody works at their own speed. But I'm the drama queen. That earthquake. We really could have got some impact out of this earthquake, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And the ground was shaking, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I realised it was an earthquake. Yeah, that's my job.
Anybody else? Yes.
That must have been a very difficult story to tell. It was very brave of you to tell that story. I thought there was a very real air of mystery about the way you told it. Was in the beginning, it was difficult to know where the story was going. And I think that's a very good way of telling the story, because you then get the audience interested to wonder what's happening, what's going on. And you then gave the details of the story and then pulled everything together right in the end. And again, gave you a lesson from it. Thank you.
I thought it was very brave, and you went into the detail that, that a smart personal detail, and your earnestness came across as well.
Yes, I found that it was very clever and sophisticated to present such a dramatic, tragic family history in such a right way. And it's really, thank you very much for sharing. Now I need to announce some deviation from our agenda, because now I would like to introduce speaker number 4, Carol, and she will speak during 5 minutes, and it's, we can say it's some, not training speech, but she would like to give us we will be the first listeners of her very professional speech. It means that please be very, listen to the speech with great attention and honestly say your opinion about this highly professional speech by Carol.
Just a short hiatus while I put her And if I could just put my speech in context for you, because it's not from the manual. I have to do a speech for real on Monday night, and quite a lot of pressure. I'm going to a European conference in Nice, and I'll be there for 4 days, and on Monday night we have a black tie dinner, and I have to do the after dinner speech. So lucky. So this is the speech I'm going to do, so any amount of criticism and help you can give me to improve would be much appreciated, and I thank you for the opportunity to practice this. Just so that you know, my audience will be mainly English lawyers, with some lawyers from Monaco joining us.